Hello and welcome everybody. Today we're going to talk about how to get the most of your .NET builds with the JFrog platform. Before we'll start, a little bit about myself. My name is Zohar and I'm a developer advocate at JFrog. Before that, I was part of the support team and the high-touch solution team here. And as you can see in the picture, I have an amazing doggy named Benjo. And before a few months, we just adopted another beautiful baby named Sol. And if you want to get a hold of me later or just send me your doggy's pictures, I'm pretty available. You can find me on Twitter at BatelZohar. You can also email me at batelty@jfrog.com. And I'm always happy to help. So please do not hesitate to reach out if you need something. Now I think we can start. So let's talk a bit about the JFrog platform. We're trying to provide an end-to-end platform that provides you the ability to control everything in one place, from your pipeline to your distribution. We can also scale up very quickly. We support HA and different environments, so we can easily scale up and add more and more nodes according to our needs. We're super universal, so we can support any binary, any stack, and any DevOps tool, and I'm gonna show you some of these practices during this session. We also have a continuous security, so we can easily scan the binaries like we're going to do today and scan our .NET files and our NuGet packages and see how it's working. And we also hybrid and multi-cloud, so we support OSS to multi-cloud for multi-configuration with SaaS and on-prem. And our integrated ecosystem support more than 50 technologies partner hosted offering all public clouds. So this JFrog platform will look like that. We have JFrog Artifactory that help us to store and managing packages globally. Then we can easily scan those packages with the JFrog Xray and make sure that we won't have any security issues or licenses issues. And then we can easily distribute them to our edge nodes. Behind all of this, we can control and monitoring everything with JFrog Mission Control and Insight that help us to analyze intelligence metrics and monitoring our services, configuration, and much more. And for our CI/CD, we can easily use JFrog pipelines that's written in YAML, and it's pretty straightforward, and I can show you some stuff later on to see how it's working. But basically we're providing a solution from our source code repository to our edge, to our distribution that deploy real-time incremental updates. So the first thing that I want to show you is 5 reasons to use Binary Repository Manager when developing with NuGet. So as you may know, for .NET developers, Microsoft supported mechanism for sharing code, which is NuGet, that defines how packages for .NET are created, hosted, and consumed. Today we're going to talk a bit about Binary Repository Manager and why we should use it. So first we can speak about long and network-intensive build processes, offline access to packages and metadata, sharing internal and external NuGet packages, searching for packages based on different criteria, and stability and reliability of system hosting NuGet packages. If you want to find all of the reasons, you can easily click on the link that I just put here and get some our papers about how to use a binary repository manager when we're developing with NuGet. So let's start with the first one: reduce network traffic and optimize build. Since much of your code is likely assembled rather than built, you want to make sure that your usage of packages download from NuGet Gallery is optimized. It makes no sense for 2 or 200 developers using the same package to download it separately. Artifactory is intermediately between developers and the NuGet Gallery and handles it as a remote repository. Once a package has been downloaded, Artifactory stores in a local cache. Upon receiving subsequent requested, Artifactory performs a smart checksum search for the requested packages, and if it already has been downloaded, then the local cache copy is provided. Therefore, any package is only downloaded once, and it then locally available to all other developers in the organization, that reducing the network traffic, of course. And naturally, this is transparent to individual developers. Once the NuGet client is configured to access packages through Artifactory, the developer can get with what she does the best and leave the packages management to Artifactory. So if we look at the network traffic from the point of view of a build server, the benefits are clear. A typical project may need tens or if not hundreds of packages from Nuget Gallery. For the server to build these packages, all the packages must be downloaded and made available to the server environment, which may guarantee megabytes or even gigabytes, right, of data traffic to the network. Downloading all of these required packages take a significant amount of time in delays and build processes by caching all of those packages locally. The build process is much quicker and incurs much less networking. So as you can see here, we have dependencies everywhere, and basically we have all the dependencies in one place that is kind of a caching mechanism, and we can control this cache repository too and configure whenever we would like to keep them and how many different versions we would like to have. So this is the first reason why we should use a binary repository manager. The second is reliable access to Nuget Gallery. So as .NET developers, Nuget Gallery is an invaluable resource that you need on a regular basis. But since Nuget Gallery is a remote resource, what do you do if it goes down or if there is any issues with our network? And what happened if you are actually a build server, right? We're trying to run our build, we're having some network issues. What's happening right now? So in that case, Artifactory provides rich and extensive support for Nuget API and is therefore transparent to the developers working with Nuget Gallery. So Artifactory and the Nuget Gallery is just another remote repository. So when we are requested to a Nuget package or metadata, Artifactory can provide it from the local cache, effectively screening you from any issues with the gallery and the network. You will always have access to the packages in your system and your builds, and you won't help by any issues in the network or anything that's just happening because it's already cached. Therefore, we may want to use Artifactory like that. So we have our Nuget clients that are trying to get directly from Nuget Gallery. As you can see here, that's what we had before we're using Artifactory. But whenever we're using Artifactory will know how to do all the smarting mechanism right over here and show me it's basically keeping it on the cache, and my build server will go directly to Artifactory and try to get the metadata. And this is the second reason why we would like to use a binary repository manager. Fully reproducible builds, bugs detected or issues, however you refer them, they hunt us, right? We will find bugs everywhere. And sometimes they only turn up after we have released them to the world. And then fixing them becomes urgent, right? We need to make sure we are doing it as soon as possible, and we won't have any issues whenever we're trying to fix a bug and want to add another bug. But then to debug an issue, we want to be able to reproduce the specific release on which it is found, right? We want to make sure that we can easily find it and reproduce it and fix it. Given the modules we develop and download, along with all the using dependencies and build environment, that might be a daunting task. So Artifactory provides a built-in version tracking by storing executive build information, which make it easy to fully reproduce in any build. So basically, information stored includes specific package versions, dependencies, system properties, environment variables, the user information, timestamp, and much more. But Artifactory gives you even more than that. With the built-in build diff tool, you can compare builds and therefore know exactly what changed and where to introduce the version which is bug or was reproduced. So in this demo, I'm going to show you how to track the build info and why it's so easy to do that. So this is another reason why we should use a binary repository manager. So let's talk a bit about the build info. As you can see here, we have all the environment variable. I can find it under the environment tab. I can click on the build info JSON and get a very large JSON file with all of the information of the build. I can find the module and we will deep dive to it in our demo. Another reason is security and access control. So every organization needs to implement security policy so that people can only access internal resources that are authorized to use. But how you control what people in your organization download from Nuget Gallery, for example, or any other external resource? How do you control which external resources are accessed in the first place? And then how do you control where people in the organization put different packages they downloaded or working on? Artifactory can provide you a security and access control in different levels, from complete repository down to a single artifact, and from a group for any size of down of single developer. As the first line defense, Artifactory supports virtual repositories. By going through virtual repository, you can ensure that your developers only access reliable third-party resources that have been approved. You can also optimize package resolution by defining the underlying repository order to this artifact to this repository, and we'll first look at local repository, for example, and then go to the remote repository cache, and then go to try to find it on the remote repository. And therefore we are getting most of our binaries locally, and we can easily get them very quickly. So for the developer, it's simple. Just request a package by name, and Artifactory will safely optimally access it according to your organization policy. For more fine-grained access control, Artifactory also provides flexible mechanism to define excludes and include pattern for download using regular expression. So think about it that we found any specific dependencies that we don't want to use in our organization. We want to make sure that none of our developers can download it, and we want to block them. So in a simple configuration inside my repository, I can configure and include or exclude patterns with a regex explanation to make sure that nobody will use them. So to ensure developers can deploy release targets to a QA repository, but only authorized QA staff, we can easily ensure that by release candidates that met the required standard, and we can promote it from a release to dev repository to production and so on. Now, if virtual repository wasn't clear enough, I'll try to explain a bit more. So a virtual repository is an encapsulate any number of local and remote repository and represent them as a unified repository accessed by a single URL. So when packages requested are resolved from underlying repositories in the order which they are defined in the virtual repository. So I'm going to show you that in our demo. And this is another reason why we should use a binary repository manager. Last but not least is the smart search for packages using build number and custom properties. Artifactory provides you the flexible search capabilities that let you find packages based on combination of properties such as name, version, timestamp, checksum, and much more. Artifactory also provides you some common built-in searches. So for example, you can ask Artifactory for the latest version of any package without having specific particular version number. Artifactory knows how to compare all the different versions of the package in any of the repository and provide the latest one available. Artifactory can also build search takes a step further and lets you search for packages by build number, very much like using version tag assigned to a source file in source code control system. So this pretty powerful feature enables you to find all specific artifacts that went into a build according to the build number, but the full power of smart search comes with flexibility that Artifactory provides you with custom properties that you can assign to the package. So think about it that I can easily add a property whenever I'm passing some tests in specific package or in specific build that I just created. And then I can create very complicated queries that find me this package. Another cool feature about it is the checksum based search. So we can search for a package by its checksum, which is pretty powerful too. And Artifactory take a unique method of sorting file by their checksum. So even if a package has been renamed, moved, or even deployed outside our organization, we can trace it back to the original version and obtain its complete build information. So we can simply run the package for the checksum tool and run checksum search artifactory to retrieve the original version. This is another reason why we should use the binary repository manager. Now let's talk a bit about the JFrogCLI. JFrogCLI is an open source project written in Go. The JFrogCLI tool provides a simple interface that helps you to interact with all JFrog products. So for example, in one command, I can download the whole repository or upload the whole directory to Artifactory. And not only that, I can generate access token and scan some builds with our Xray tool, and even create a release bundle to distribute it in the future with distribution. So I can do almost everything with our JFrogCLI, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So why we should use the JFrogCLI? First of all, connection detail storage, and it's easily integrated with the cloud. We have file operation, we can easily get some metadata information. File specs, of course, I can create a file spec that help me to send some queries, and package managers integration and build info can easily manage with the CLI, and we're going to do that today. And it's tight integrated with the JFrog platform, so everything is supported also with the CLI. I think now it's a great time for a demo, so let's start our project. So my demo is based on this project in our GitHub, which is available under JFrog project example and MS build example. You can easily go here, fork it and clone and try to test it. Okay, so basically our example in GitHub includes two projects, the MS build library and the MS build example. MS build example will use MS build library as a dependency, so the first thing that we would like to do is to run the build. So let's go to the small script that I just created here. You can see it's right over here. Let's go back there. Alright, and here let's cut the build sh. It's basically creating my build. So let's just run it. Okay, cool, it's success. Now let's see what we have under my publish one. I'm basically just publishing to Artifactory, so we'll be able to reuse those dependencies. So let's just run the publish one here. Okay, great, we have our dependencies. And as you can see here, I'm uploading two files over here. The DLL and the PDB, and of course we can configure it to upload only one of them because we're using JFrogCLI commands. We can easily control it. And let's talk a bit about the command that's running here. You can see that we're using JFrogRT, which means JFrog Artifactory upload, pretty straightforward. Where we would like to find the files, where we would like to upload the files to msbuild local and msbuild library. And --flat false means that we would like to save our structure. The file system is structure, and the build name, it will be msbuild library. Build number, it just generates something. Of course, we can control it and change it in the future. And here we can find the build info information. So let's click here and just open it really quick. And you can see that we have two files here, right? Let's click on that. We have the msbuild library DLL and the msbuild library PDB. And we have the build info JSON with the SHA, like I promised. We have the information and everything we need. Now let's go back here. Let's go to the msbuild example. And just run the same. Let's create a build. And let's publish the information. So you can see that I'm uploading different artifacts and we have a different build info. So we can take this one and talk a bit about the build info. So now I have 6 artifacts and I have the caching 2 and the DLL. And I have a different build info JSON because we have more files and we can easily add more information. I can also check the permissions of the users that can go to this build. And let's talk a bit about the CS purge. Let's open it, code CS and build sample csproj. So we basically have some simple JFrogCLI commands here. As you can see here, upload artifacts using JFrog RT upload with the path and the path to the repository destination. We have the upload command over here with the flex that we just added, the flat one, so we can easily control it and change it according to our needs. Publish build info, and again here is another it's collecting the build info, and here is the publishing build info. And another nice thing that we can easily add very quickly is scan our build. Since Xray provides me the ability to scan our binaries and make sure that we won't have any security vulnerability, I can easily add the scan command that basically search for the build. As you can see here, it's JFrog RT build scan by build name and build number. And in case that we configure any policy to block the build downloads, or just control it or notify someone whenever we found any security vulnerability, it will apply it and make sure that we are safe and secure. Now let's talk a bit more about the CLI. I can also have the ability to send some curl command with the CLI, which is very cool. So whenever I'm using JFrog RT curl, I can easily send a direct curl command to Artifactory, so I don't need to write everything. So if I want to get the information, the build information very quickly, I can do that by that. So let's find my build. You can see it's called ms build. Here is the number, and I can easily run the curl command through the CLI, all of the available Artifactory curl commands. So it's very easy. It's a very, very powerful feature. I love this feature actually, because I can just run everything in one place. I don't need another terminal. I don't need anything else. I can just do that through here. So we can also add some properties during the build, and we can have the information about my packages also here. So whenever I'm clicking on Artifactory, let's go back here to the platform. I can find my NuGet packages. So let's take NUnit, for example. You can see the information about the package. You can see that it scans. We have 4 different versions. Let's take one of them. We won't have any vulnerabilities, but in case that it was part of a build, I will see the build information too. I can see the repositories that contain it and the Xray data. So you can see that it found the license that it's using, the MIT license. And we have actually one testing security issues here. I guess that I just added custom information here to have something that's related to the package. Let's take another one. This is scan 2. Also no vulnerabilities. All right. So let's take this. No vulnerabilities. Wow, everything is so perfect. Let's take the Docker image here. So here's my Xray data, and it's actually a critical one. So I can easily click on the data here. I can see the artifact, the attached components, which watch is related to it, and a quick summary about the vulnerability. So exactly the same for any NuGet packages. I will see a quick summary of the information about the package and why we have security issues. I see the description, the vulnerable version. So in case that we have fixed version, I will also see that in Xray and can change it very quickly. So this was our scanning. Let's go back to the packages really quick. So let's take this one. Just taking one of the packages. I can also go to the tree really quickly and get the information about this package. So as you can see here, when I'm clicking on the package info, I have the version, I have the authors, the owner, licenses, description, and they will generate it automatically because we are basically having everything inside here we are scanning it to our Artifactory. So we have the tracers, the dynamic runtime, and anything we need. And we talked a bit about properties, right? So we also have some built-in properties like the copyright, authors, owners, and so on. And of course the version of the package. So I can easily add some properties and create some queries in the future, like saying if it's pass QA, true, and then whenever I'm created and want to create diff between builds and get some more information, I can easily add a property to make sure that I pass the test, for example, a specific test that we just added, and so on. So everything is pretty straightforward. I have everything in front of me, and I have the pipelines that created it too, if it's created by our CI/CD, by pipelines, so you can get it too. Another cool feature that we have in Xray is to create a report. So I can create a report in Xray by a specific package type. So let's say that I would like to have a NuGet report that contains vulnerabilities or licenses or just violations. I can go to a specific repository, so I can find my MS build here, and I can filter it by specific components, artifacts, specific CVE, or when it's published. And whenever I have the report, I can easily just send it to someone from our security team and so on, right? I can easily share it. And now let's talk a bit about the Xray settings very quick. So whenever we want to scan for some binaries, we can create a new policy. Let's call it NuGet policy. And here's my rule. So I can define it by a specific severity, by a specific score. I can notify some people, like you can see here, by trigger in a webhook, or notify to the deployer or a specific email address. Here's the blocking that I said. We can easily block the download of specific files. So let's just add a blocking here. And yeah, naming NuGet policy. After I created it, I need a watch, right? I need to find where to look for. So let's create it NuGet watch. And here's the repository. I want to find everything that's related to MS build. Of course, I can also filter it by regex. So whenever we are adding more and more repositories, I can just scan them automatically, which is nice. And here's the policy. Here is my NuGet policy that we just defined, and we can create and get more violation and more information about my packages. And I think that's it for today. Let's just summary everything very quick. So we have dependencies, right? We want to make sure that we can control our dependencies. We have our, sorry for that. We have our Artifactory to access NuGet Gallery and create kind of a proxy to make sure that everything is in one place. We have bugs everywhere, so in order to define them, we have the build info that help me to find the specific version that's having the bug, and from there to fix them. Want to make sure that we are secure too, and with a smart mechanism. So now it's some time for some questions. Thank you so much for joining us today, and please write us on the chat and we would love to answer. Thank you so much, and have a great day.